Hi, good morning, Disqualified Dads, part 4.1, real coercive control. I'm going to jump straight into it because there's a lot of ground to cover. Now, there's one more weapon that the perpetrator, especially in the Asian community, uses. And this weapon is preferable by, I would say, female perpetrators, the women of the community. Now, because of the way society is, the way Asian culture is, religion, and what, certain aspects related to the community and what potentially used to go on and still goes on in certain parts of their home countries, which is how fathers perceive the birth of daughters over sons. Now, there's a weapon of choice, especially used, I believe, specifically in the Asian community, and it's very easy to use, I believe, against those who are of brown skin. Now, you've just been blessed with a child. You've had a child. God has blessed you with a lovely daughter. Now, the perpetrator, the coercive controller, let's say being the wife in this situation, the women of the community. And before I say anything else, I just want to say there is a lot of good women in this community and in all communities. I'm not here to pick out specifically women of our community. I am highlighting a specific issue that is coercive control. And from my study and experience, what I've seen, it seems to be more prevalent amongst the women of our community, hence I'm addressing this. But there's a lot of good women in our community. There's a lot of good parents. There are a lot of good elders. So before anyone gets the wrong impression, respect to all of those good wives, mothers, sisters, aunties, grandmas in the community and in all communities. I respect and love all of you. I have respect for everyone. I have to highlight this issue though. I have a duty now to the people that have reached out to me. I have to bring awareness. We have to help those who can't break out or speak up. Male suicide, like I said, it's already, if you look into male suicide, it is a very ugly, there's a very ugly truth out there, and I won't be surprised if people from our community going forward suicide rates will just get higher and higher. And the fact is, tomorrow this could be your brother, your nephew, your uncle, anyone. Do you see what I'm saying? It could be someone that is suffering through this. You could lose a loved one to coercive control and this sort of domestic abuse. So we have a duty as a community to bring this out and bring awareness around this out. Now, get back to my point that I was making. So there's a specific weapon of choice that I believe is easily used, specifically in the Asian community. Because you're brown and, we have a lot of strong cultural roots and religious roots, there's an element of, you can be painted as he doesn't love his daughter, or he didn't want his daughter because she was a girl. He doesn't like girls. He's backwards. He's very simple. He's got a back home mentality that he views girls or daughters as weakness. I mean, this weapon, I believe, is widely and easily used, and I think the family courts are fooled by it easily, because you got to look. I look at myself, and I look at some of the brothers and the people that I've spoken to, right? And unfortunately, if you're a man, and some cases you're a man with a beard and all of that, it's very easy to paint you as backward, or this guy's he's religious, daughters are treated differently. They can paint that sexism label on you, and the fact that you love sons more than daughters. It's very easy to paint that on, I believe, onto people from the community. It's very easy to put that stereotype on them, and the women know this. The women of our community who engage in this behavior, they use this weapon very often. From all the people I spoke to, this is a very common weapon used, and the family courts are blind to it. They completely fall for it. And that is also used to paint you to be this monster. I know many guys where they have been on the receiving end of these sort of allegations, to say they hate that they don't love their daughters, they didn't want their daughters, and all this sort of stuff. Now, I know of a case of one chap, right, specifically, And again, this is where the in-laws sort of used to engage and feed into this, and this is what used to feed him, and he used to feed his mind with all this stuff, and he used to think, am I being paranoid? Is there something going on behind the scenes I'm not clocking? So this chap used to go to his in-laws. He's had, you know, he's had a couple of, you know, been blessed with a couple of lovely daughters. He used to go to his in-laws very proudly, happily, to let his kids go there and play with his daughters, spend time as a family, because he family sort of guy, loving family unit, kids are having fun. He didn't mind, even though, like I said, his kids could not spend time with his own parents and brothers and sisters and his own nephews and nieces. He still didn't deny his children their blood relatives from his wife's side. He said, look, if I'm as stubborn and I stoop as low as her, who's going to miss out? It's only my kids that will miss out further. They're already missing out on one half of the family. I don't want my children missing out on the other half of their family. I don't want to deny my children happiness because of someone else's behavior. And even if they treat me like this, he goes, I don't care, because I won't deny my children happiness. So all those perpetrators, take note, that is what a real parent does. They think of their children. They put their own feelings, emotions and angers and all of these things aside, and they put their children first. Because this chap used to go, right, to his in-laws, and he said that every now and then, and again, you got to understand what I'm saying about the subtleties. They say, you know, they hi, they give him a hug, sit down, they bring him tea, samosas, kebabs, and all of this stuff. And for a moment, you think, you know what, maybe it's just me, maybe I'm being paranoid. He starts sipping at the tea, starts stuffing himself with samosas and kebabs and biscuits and everything else. And as he's now engaged in this, you know, someone feeds you, it gives you a warm feeling. You know, hospitality is a very big thing. So he goes, every time I settle in and just digs, right, start coming out of nowhere, and I'm not ready because my guard's down, and I think, nah, did I hear that right? So he goes, his father used to keep saying to him, oh, you're a very lucky man, you've got daughters, you need to consider yourself lucky. And this is the other thing I'm saying. You know the breakfast example I gave yesterday? The poor husband has no idea what is being said about him, what is being talked about. And so when he goes there and these digs are being had, why would your father-in-law keep insisting that you're very lucky, you've got daughters, you need to consider? He's like, so he goes, I said to my father-in-law, I know I'm lucky, they're my daughters, they're my children. Of course I'm lucky, I'm the luckiest man in the world. But then it's like, why is he saying that? So you have to understand, there's a reason the reason he was saying that. And I explained to my friend that the reason he was saying this is because what information has gone back to him, the information gone back, and this is what he's really trying to say is, you know, you're a monster and you don't like daughters and you hate girls, but you're lucky you've got these two girls. You should be more grateful and happy because I know you're a monster. So he's not going to come out with it straight. They say all this indirectly. So the poor guy, while he's eating these samosas and kebabs, he doesn't know where the shots are coming from, and these are subtle tactics. Another example I can give you. So one example is they will use the sex of the children against you, especially if you're from the community. Weapon of choice. Look out for that one, yeah? Another example. And when I said to him, did you give any impression? Just to cover that a bit more. So I said to this chap, did you say anything that may have led to, say, your partner misunderstanding? I said, misunderstandings happen. He went, the only thing, because I've been racking my brain as to where this whole idea of me not loving girls has come from, or loving girls in the sense of not preferring daughters over sons and all of this, or where has this come from? He goes, I remember one thing. He goes, whilst my wife was pregnant, and he goes, we had our first child and she was a lovely, you know, little girl. He goes, I realized how hard it was, difficult it was, because they lived separately. They didn't have the extended family, anyone supporting them. They separate from day one, yeah? Very lucky couple. In the Asian community, you live with family. Just want to say, so now that we've touched on that, there are Asian families that live together, women, the men of the house, all the wives, they live together. They have their problems, but they stick it out. They live together. They have a unity and a bond. And you know what? I respect that. There's people I know that have lived together. They work in the same family business together, and they've maintained it for over 20 years. Many families, and many families have held this. It's very uncommon now. You don't have to do it. It's not a problem. But those that have achieved certain things like that and maintained it, respect to you guys. Yeah, respect to you is very rarely heard of, I believe, nowadays. So respect to all of you that have managed that. Anyway, going back to my point, I slightly went off. Yeah, so I said to this chap, right, I said to, what did you say that may have given them that impression about, you prefer sons over daughters? He goes, once we had a child, he goes, I realized how difficult it was. One child was difficult. He goes, I wanted loads of children. I had one and realized, mate, this is hard work. Even one's enough, yeah? So he goes, I said to my missus, look, think about this now, yeah? We've got a girl. If you have a boy next, we're done. We don't need to have any more kids. He goes, I just found it very bizarre, like her response. He goes, that's the only thing that it could have come. She went, oh, I knew you hated girls. He's like, no, babe, what I'm saying is we've got a girl now. If we have a boy next, we've got one boy, one girl. We've got the full set. We can stop right there. We're done, because this is hard work. And he goes, he said, this is what he claimed that the issue was overall, all the time. A normal conversation. He said, I mean, I've thought about it, and I thought that's a very normal, logical, level-headed conversation to have. And to be fair, it makes sense. If you've got one boy, if you have one boy first, for example, and your next child's a girl, you're done. You could say, I'm done, I'm out. Those from big families know how hard it is, 2, 3, 4 kids, people are opting for that now, great. If you have one boy, one girl, technically you're done. You don't need to carry. Now, what happens normally, from my understanding, is if you have 2 boys, you might think, let's try again, because this time we'll have a girl. If you have 2 girls, let's try again, maybe we'll have a boy. We've got the full set. So this chap, all he said, he explained that to his wife again, and explained to her, that's what I mean. And I mean, we've got a girl now, we'll have a boy next, hopefully, God willing. We're done, we're out, boom. We don't need to worry. 2 is difficult, mate. Kids are hard. He goes, and this is the problem. He goes, his wife just gives him a cold blank look. Yeah, I knew you hated girls. I knew you didn't want a daughter. Right? He goes, at that point, I just stopped talking. He goes, because there's no getting through. And he goes, this was the behavior that I've got accustomed to. He goes, this sort of communication where everything is challenged in a manner where you're indirectly painted out to be a monster in some way or other. So then you should think, well, where does this stem from? It's a normal conversation, but I thought maybe she got the wrong end of the stick. She goes back, feeds this to her family. So look at the conversation that took place. Look at the conversation that is fed back to her mum and dad. Mum and dad know this their daughter. They've raised her. They've spent best part of 30 years with this child. They've grown her into an adult. They've taught her. They must know she has some communication problems. So did they not pick her up and say, maybe he didn't mean that? We've seen him with his kids. He doesn't come across like that. But to believe everything your daughter says and then back it up and attack your son-in-law indirectly, what sort of people are they? What sort of people do this? Tell me. Who behaves like this? And this is just another example of the tactics used by the perpetrator. They use the sex of the child against you. An innocent conversation. Like I said to you yesterday, there's a conversation A to B here. By the time that conversation gets A to Z, it is a completely different reality. And what is more scary what was more concerning for my friend at the time was, he goes, what scared me more is the fact that when she said all this, you hate girls, she said it with conviction. She believes it. He goes, look at the conversation I had and look at what the person receiving the information reacts. Apply this to every single subject, topic and relationship and engagement throughout life. What is going on with this person? And this is what I'm saying. Sometimes the perpetrator has an emotional or a psychological or some sort of mental health issues that need to be addressed. And what the family do, as I said yesterday, instead of addressing these issues, because this child might be damaged, this person, this daughter, this girl might be damaged because of what she witnessed at home growing up herself. But instead of accepting blame, it is easier in the community to put that blame around someone else's neck. Say, this is now your problem. And that behavior is attached to you. 15 minutes are up. This is part 4.1 complete. Next video, part 4.2, will be coming shortly. Thank you for watching.